7 states considering a move to Canada? I mean, surely not. There's no way this would actually happen, would it? Like, the 50 states, that's such a big part of the US identity. There's always been, I guess, maybe tension and stuff between like the individual states and the presidency and the federal government and stuff like that. But would states ever actually leave the union? Surely not. I don't think do you think that could happen in our lifetime?
The US and Canada share more than just a 5,000-mile border. They're neighbors bound by history, trade, and deep cultural ties. But what if that border wasn't so permanent? Imagine a future where some US states, frustrated with Washington politics or attracted to Canada's stability and social systems, consider breaking away and joining their northern neighbor. Sounds far-fetched? Maybe not.
I don't know, man. I can't see it happening. Like, I just think there would be such a resistance, such a fight against that because, it would weaken the remaining states, wouldn't it? Because you'd lose the economic output of those states that had left.
Many American states already have strong economic and political connections with Canada, so much so that the idea of joining Canada isn't entirely outlandish.
Really?
With growing dissatisfaction and shifting values, could this quiet movement gain traction? In this video, we explore a surprising question: which US states are most likely to join Canada, and why? Join us as we count down the top 7 contenders and examine the reasons behind this intriguing possibility. Number 7. Minnesota. Cold weather, warm love. Minnesota and Canada share more than just nearly 900 kilometers of border. They share a lifestyle. With over $7 billion in annual trade and a deep cultural overlap, the bond runs far deeper than economics. Think snow-covered winters, wool sweaters, a love for ice hockey, and a famously calm, polite way of speaking.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of similarities between Minnesota and Canada. But again, like, would they leave the union for them? I don't see it. Like, Americans watching this, could you see this happening?
These shared traits make Minnesota feel more like a Canadian province than an American state in many ways. Historically, parts of Minnesota were once tied to Canadian fur-trading giants like the Hudson's Bay Company, long before it officially became a U.S. state in 1858. Northern towns still reflect those early ties, with some families maintaining dual U.S.-Canadian citizenship and frequently visiting relatives across the border. Politically, Minnesota leans toward moderate, community-first values and strong support for social welfare principles that align closely with modern Canadian ideals. If the U.S. ever faced a major crisis or growing division, Minnesota, already closely connected in spirit and values to its northern neighbor, might be among the first to consider life under the red maple leaf. Number 6, North Dakota, the unofficial Canadian province.
So it seems like I'm guessing a lot of these states will be states that share borders with Canada already. I just don't know what they would stand to gain from joining Canada. Like, unless the Canadian political scene is a lot more aligned with what it is in North Dakota. But I think it's kind of changing, isn't it? It's shifting.
North Dakota might not make national headlines often, but when it comes to Canada, the two are practically neighbors under one roof. Canada is North Dakota's top trading partner, with over $6 billion in exports flowing north annually, especially agricultural, energy, and industrial goods that end up in provinces like Manitoba and Saskatchewan.
Okay.
But the relationship goes beyond trade. In many border towns like Pembina and Bottineau, Canadian license plates are a common sight. Some residents even cross the border for access to Canada's public healthcare system, which many see as more efficient and affordable than U.S. alternatives.
But hold on a minute. So you can go to a different country and use their healthcare, even though you don't pay taxes there? Wouldn't they still hit you with a bill? Like, if I was, from North Dakota and I went to Canada to get my teeth done, they'd still charge me, wouldn't they?
Culturally and politically, North Dakota leans conservative, sharing values like small government and free enterprise, similar to Alberta, a Canadian province that has flirted with the idea of separating from Canada to adopt a more American-style system. Interestingly, there was once talk of a North Dakota-Manitoba economic union, revealing how open some locals are to cross-border integration. In times of political or economic instability in the U.S., North Dakota's strong Canadian ties and familiarity with thinking beyond borders might make it a quiet candidate for realignment under the maple leaf. Number 5. Montana.
Yeah, I mean, look, all of these so far have been on the border with Canada. I would love to see if there's any states, on the coasts, like on the west coast or the east coast. Do you think there will be? I'm betting no. I think they're going to be mainly sort of the states up here.
The highland with Canadian spirit, Montana, with its wide prairies and towering Rockies, is known for its peaceful, rugged beauty, but its connection to Canada runs far deeper than geography. Sharing a border with not one but 3 Canadian provinces, British Columbia, Alberta, and Saskatchewan, Montana mirrors their way of life in striking ways, from agriculture and mining to a shared appreciation for self-reliance and natural beauty. The similarities are undeniable. Billions of dollars in goods cross these borders each year. Everything from cattle and grain to industrial machinery. But it's not just trade. Residents often cross over to visit family, access healthcare, or simply shop, treating the border like a line on paper more than a dividing wall. In northern Montana, it's not uncommon to find towns that accept Canadian dollars, tune into CBC radio, or even broadcast Canadian TV. Montana's calm pace of life, strong sense of...
Wow, super flat, isn't it, Montana? Not very hilly. I've noticed this, like a lot of American states are quite flat, like this, which I suppose is great for, like driving and stuff like that and walking.
community and love for the land resonate closely with the values of neighboring Canadian provinces. If political unrest ever shakes the U.S., don't be surprised if Montana quietly turns its gaze north, where its spirit already feels right at home. Number 4. Washington, the state of freedom, looking north. Washington State, tucked into the far northwest corner of the U.S., is known for Starbucks, towering pines, tech giants like Microsoft and Amazon, and a progressive spirit. But behind its modern image lies a deeper, quieter bond with Canada.
To be honest, I think a lot of the states that are mentioned here would face the same issues, wouldn't they? Because, like, not all of Canada is the same politically. You've got some right-leaning states, some left-leaning states. So I don't see how they would be any sort of real benefit aside from the healthcare, I suppose, the healthcare system, maybe a couple other things. But in terms of like politically, you'd still face the same issues as you would in the US or any other country where different areas lean in different directions.
Washington doesn't just border Canada, it's intricately tied to British Columbia in ways that go far beyond geography. Seattle and Vancouver, separated by just over 2 hours of highway, function almost like twin cities. The I-5 corridor is one of the busiest US-Canada trade routes, moving billions in goods annually from tech products and agricultural exports to financial services. People regularly commute across the border for work, education, or leisure. Some even live in one country and work in the other. Politically, Washington is one of the most progressive states in America, promoting eco-friendly policies, public health initiatives, and social justice values that align closely with Canada, especially British Columbia. Both regions emphasize clean energy, universal health care, and a balanced lifestyle rooted in freedom and sustainability. There's even a name for the region that spans Seattle to Vancouver, Cascadia, a cultural and ecological zone where national borders feel almost irrelevant. In times of US instability, be it political division or economic breakdown.
Yeah, I think to be honest, we sort of get the picture that the narrator or the creator of this video is kind of getting at. It seems like all of the states are going to be the states that share the border with Canada. I don't know whether any of them have actually expressed a desire to leave the union. Like that would have been an interesting talking point. Like, have any of them, the governors, actually said, we want to leave, the Union. He's not mentioned it so far, so I don't think we're going to see it in this video. I'm going to look into it. Like, let's actually see here. So Google, is my internet going to work? So have US states actually said they want to leave the Union? I'll say the United States. So as of 2024, over 6 states are said to have growing secessionist movements, those being Alaska, California. Wow. Okay, leave the US to go to join Canada. To join Canada. It doesn't. So could some US states really leave Canada to join? Could leave the US to join Canada? No, not legally by any means. Interesting. So it wouldn't even be legal, it seems. Obviously, this is according to some person on Reddit, but it seems, so here we go, movements of the annexation. So various individual and movements within Canada and the US have campaigned in favor of the US annexation of. Okay, so this is what Donald Trump was kind of talking about before, right? Annexing the whole of Canada as like the 51st state. I don't see that ever happening. But yeah, I don't really see. Here we go. 1 in 5 Americans want their state to secede and join Canada. Wow. Unreal. 1 in 5 Americans. That's insane. That's a lot. Let's say the population of America is what? 200 mil? That's 40 million people. I mean, okay, you watching this, would you want your state to join Canada? Like, why or why not? I'd love to read your comments because there's advantages, I suppose. Like if you're like a fairly normal person, average income, the healthcare system in Canada would probably be better for you. But on the flip side, there's probably higher taxation that you'd have to deal with as well. So it's like what you give, you kind of get, and vice versa. It's a tricky one. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.